So I was talking to this girl yesterday, and she was saying that she wanted to get involved in social media. And I said, well, I have a whole lot of experience on the internet and in social media. She looked at me and said, oh, okay. Do you have any certifications or training? Time for the Q&A.
DreAllDay.com.
What's up, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. We're here for Q&A. This is Q&A number 46. This is being recorded on Friday, November 21st, 2014. You're watching this on Saturday, November 22nd. I record this every Friday. The way this works is I'll go through the comments from the previous week's Q&A. I read these comments for the first time. I haven't looked at these yet, and I answer them in rapid fire succession in this video that you're watching right now. And if you have a question that I haven't addressed, or you haven't heard answer, or you just got a burning question, a burning statement that you just have to make and hear me address, leave it in the comments to this video that you're watching, and next week I will address your questions, as long as you don't ask me nothing fucking stupid. So now let's get right into the Q&A without further ado. First of all, Dmitry Tukovic says, Dmitry Tukovic says, Dre, I know I had to ask, how do you put up with all these same stupid ass questions? Like, I'm the best player, but I'm not getting playing time. What do I do? That's just lame. Well, Dmitry, hey, what you'll find interesting is that I get just as many comments of people telling me how bad other people's questions are. The next question, Noah Swan says, Dre, does doing weights increase chances of cramps and injuries? Well, no, I've never heard of that. So wherever you got that information, you should ask that person, but I've never heard of that. So I would say no. TJ Will says, Dre, what is your favorite candy? Now, that's a good question. I actually don't even eat candy anymore. I stopped eating candy at the end of September of this year. But my favorite candy, let me see. Growing up, my first favorite candy was Skittles. I used to eat Skittles a lot when I was in like elementary and middle school, because it was a stand out down the street from my school. I used to walk past every day coming from the train, and Skittles was like 50 cents. So I buy 2 packs of Skittles and then buy more after school. Then I was eating too many Skittles, and the hard outer shell was messing up my teeth. So I decided I need to eat some softer candy. So I started eating Twizzlers. Those became my next favorite. So I'll say Skittles and Twizzlers, probably my 2 favorite candies. And Nerds too. The Nerds, I had to be easy on Nerds because they so hard. You got to bite into them. They was destroying my teeth. Next question. Manuel Garcia says, Dre, I'm a fan from the Philippines. Well, thank you, Emmanuel. Shout out to everybody in the Philippines, Makati City. I see y'all out there. He says, I would ask, would using weights decrease your growth? And if not, would I suggest using weights for beginners? And by the way, he's 15 years old. Well, Emmanuel, if you're a beginner, you don't want to just walk into the gym and start lifting weights and throwing around weights, because you don't have any idea what you're doing, which can stunt everything. It stunts your physical well-being. It has nothing to do with your growth. Lifting weights is not going to stop you from growing taller. So I don't know where that myth began, but I guess a lot of people in the back of their minds think it might be true. But no, lifting weights is not going to stop you from growing taller or growing to your full height or whatever it is you're concerned with. That's not going to happen. But lifting weights can get you injured if you don't know what you're doing. And since most of you don't, I suggest you check out a program written by someone who does know what they're doing. That's an expert trainer. Her name is Maria Solon-Scalo. You've seen her training me in my videos. She is an expert certified strength and conditioning coach. And she wrote a program called Position of Power. It's a 10-week strength training program which introduces you to strength training, gets your body ready for it, and then takes you through some strength training. So for those of you who have access to weights in the gym but don't know what the hell you're doing, you need that program. And if you want to do a program where you can work on your body without having to go to a gym, if you don't have access to a facility, you just can only work out in your basement or on your front lawn, we got the 15-week program called The Ultimate Athlete, also written by Maria. So we got you covered either way or both ways. You can get both of those in what we call the complete athletic package. All of these are available on the training website called hoophandbook.com. Next question. Seth Dillamore says, Dre, do you consider yourself to be a cleaner? No, actually, I don't consider myself to be a cleaner. I hate cleaning. My mom used to make us clean the bathrooms and the floors in our bedrooms every week when I was growing up, so I hate cleaning. So when I want something cleaned, I call a cleaner and had them come clean it, and I pay them to do it. Next question. I can't believe it's Jay. It says, what benefits did you experience starting the paleo diet? Well, Jay, I haven't just started paleo. I've been eating paleo for over a year now. And it wasn't really about any direct benefits that I thought I was going to see immediately, because I'm in pretty damn good shape relative to the average human adult. It was just that I wanted to take care of the way that I was eating. I know I was putting a lot of junk in my body, and there really was no rhyme or reason. There was no plan to the way I was eating. So I wanted to just simplify, number one, eat less, a smaller variety of different types of foods. I think it would help my body perform better. Since I've done that, I do feel like I've been performing still physically. I still feel good. I still can work out. I don't have any type of injuries, no type of nagging pains in any parts of my body, no inflammation anywhere. I rarely get sick or colds or anything like that. So I can't say I didn't start it because there was any physical defect that I needed to fix. I wasn't trying to lose weight. I wasn't trying to gain weight. I wasn't even trying to put on any extra muscle or anything like that. I just wanted to see if I could simplify the way I was eating and still eat well, still be healthy, still not have hunger pains at the end of the night. So that's why I got into paleo. Next, Roman Romero says, how do you make a perfect shot? Well, the only thing perfect about a shot is that it goes in the basket. So that's how you make a perfect shot. You got to shoot it, and if it goes in, it's perfect. KCI Oktila says, what's up, Dre? My friends say that I should play someone for their spot, and a specific person is my friend Kevin. He is a freshman, but I don't want to do that because he's a friend of mine. What should I do? Well, first thing you should do, KCI, is stop basing your thoughts on what your friends say and think for yourself. What do you say? Once you figure out what you got to say, what you say to yourself, then come back to me if you got a question. PJ Savage says, Dre, I'm in the class of 2017, which means what? It means he doesn't graduate this year or next year, but the year after, so I guess that makes you a sophomore, if my math is correct. And then he says I'm in 10th grade. So see, that's what happens when you don't read. Now, but I played varsity since 9th grade, and I'm starting to get lots of interest from colleges and things like that, but I feel my friends and teammates feel some type of way about it. I don't understand it because I'm really humble, but I don't understand it. Well, PJ, you didn't actually ask me a question, but I'll address what I believe you're implying here, is that you don't know why your friends and teammates maybe are not as happy for you because you're getting looks from other schools, is because probably because they're not getting the looks. Maybe you're the player that stands out, or you're standing out more than them, and when they see your success or what they believe to be your future success, it also makes them think of their current lack of success. So they may just feel envy because of that, but otherwise I don't really have enough context to understand. And again, you didn't ask me a question. Zach Pate says, Dre, I'm the one that asked about being moved to forward because only one big man tried out. I was worried about being moved over. Well, luckily they brought down a couple bigger guys, and I made a C team. I made the team as a 2-guard. Well, congratulations. His question is, the sophomores are dicks and ball hogs, and they think they're Kobe. I don't want to sound like a bitch and complain to the coach, but I don't want to deal with these jackasses. What should I do? So you're going to complain to me instead of complaining to the coach. Well, you're still complaining, and you still sound like a bitch. And don't take it personal, but that's exactly what you're doing. Everybody doesn't think they're Kobe. You think that they think they're Kobe. None of them said that to you. This is something that is going on in your mind. You manifested this. So only thing that you can control, Zach, is your performance, your attitude, and your efforts. And when you're focused on those 3 things, you won't even worry about what anybody else is doing. And if you've been putting in the work and you've developed your game to the point that you're worthy of your spot, then it won't even matter what anybody else is doing, because you got so much focus on those 3 areas, which are the only 3 which you control. Everything else is going to go the way you need it to go in the long run, as long as you keep focused on that. When you focus on other people's actions, other people's words, other people's thoughts, things get out of control, because you can never control what other people do. You can only control what you do. Next question. Mills One Iffy says, the opportunity presents itself. Do you believe you compete at a high level in the NBA? And thanks for the great content, Dre. Well, I mean, what kind of question is that? Any person who plays basketball would probably answer that question yes. I'll answer that question yes too. But people ask me some type of question like that every Q&A, so I guess I'm just had to keep addressing it in the same general way. JSG028 says, I didn't make the team. I don't know what to do. I'm pissed because I'm better than the guys who made it. I'm 5 feet 1 inches tall. That's the reason I didn't make it. I'm always in the first in the building on tryouts. Well, JSG, is it possible that your height played a role in the coach not choosing you? Sure. I'm sure, again, the thing that you had to understand is that if that did play a role, actually before I even get to whether your height played a role, your game also played a role. Because newsflash to you, if you were the best player in the gym and you were 5 feet tall, you would still have made the team. The best player in the gym made the team. Whoever the best player in the gym was that day at the tryout that you didn't make it, they were better than you. And that's why they made the team, and that's why you didn't make the team. See, before you get from where you're at to where you're going, you had to have a clear picture of where you're at, because you can't get anywhere if you don't understand where you're starting at. It's kind of like if you wanted to go, you called an airline, you called American Airlines and said, hey, book me on the next flight to San Francisco. Well, the first thing they're going to ask you is, all right, where the hell you at now so that we can get you to San Francisco? We can't just get you on a flight and we don't know where you're coming from. So if any of you players out there, not just JSG 028, but anybody else out there, the only way you're going to get from where you're at to where you're going is, first of all, you got to face the reality of where you're at. All you players coming to me telling me that you're better than all these guys who've out-achieved you, if you're better than them, then your achievements will be equal to or surpassing them. That's just the bottom line. Better is not about what you can do in the gym by yourself. Better is about not only having the skill, but actually having the performance, having the results to prove it. So when you say you're better than somebody, let's say you go to a basketball game, let's say you're in high school, you didn't make the team, and you go to the game and some guy on the team scores 10 points, and you say, yo, I'm better than the guy who scored 10 points. Well, he's on the team playing and you on the sidelines watching. You can't say you're better than him unless you have some achievement that makes you better than him. Not just the fact that you think your J is better or the fact that you say you worked out longer last summer. You have to prove that. The reason that we practice by ourselves and that you put in that work over the summer or whatever it is you claim that you did to get ready, if you don't prove those skills when it matters, when the lights are on, when the coaches are watching, when you have tryouts, then you're not better. Your performance and your practice is a combination of both that makes you good. So you can't just have one and not have the other. Well, you can have the performance and not have practice, but that's damn near impossible. Very few players, I don't think there's anybody you can name who has all the performance but no practice. And I know Allen Iverson said he didn't practice, but he practiced a lot on the way that he considered practicing. It wasn't the team practice, but he did practice. But I know somebody always wants to bring that up. And even if they did bring that up, Allen Iverson is the only one of his kind I've ever seen in my life. And there's been 100 million basketball players. And none of us is going to be him, so you got to do it the hard way, which means you got to put in the work. Whether you think he did or he didn't, you do. So for all you players out there, the thing that I want to say to JSG, you weren't the best player in the gym. So you're not going to get anywhere as long as you keep lying to yourself and saying I was the best player in the gym, but he picked 12 people or 10 people or 15 people and I didn't get picked. You were the best, but he picked 15 people over top of you. You tell me how that makes sense. How is that possible? You say it's because your height. No, if you were the best player, no matter what your height, you would still get picked. So you're not the best player. Now let's address the next thing. You said your height has something to do with it. Let's just say that it did. Maybe it did. I remember Michael Jordan's high school coach said the reason I didn't pick Jordan his sophomore year because he just wasn't that tall. We needed more size on the team. So yes, it's possible. But what did Michael Jordan do? He went to the JV and he was a star on the JV team. So it's a principle that somebody told me once I was working in this gym. And when I first got the job, they gave us this sheet of paper that had like 10 success principles on it. I don't remember nothing else that was on the page, but one thing this girl said to me, this girl named Lynette, she was the first person who kind of like mentored me when I first started working there. And they would move people around in the gym. So if you worked at location A and you were doing really good, they might move you to location G because that gym wasn't doing good. So they brought the best people they could get from around the area. They moved them to there thinking, all right, you did so good at this one. We're gonna move you to that one so that your skills will rub off on that gym and then you'll do good at that gym too. And that person might be kind of pissed off like, yeah, I was doing good because I'm in a gym where the business is good. You put me in that dead gym and the person is thinking I'm not gonna make any sales. And one thing Lynette said to me was once, listen, if you're a good salesperson, you're a good salesperson. And one of the principles on that sheet that I mentioned was bloom where you are planted. I'm sure all of you have heard about a flower growing in concrete. It's a cliche, it's a metaphor though. If you are good, no matter what situation you get placed in, eventually the attention is gonna find you. The recognition is gonna find you. The results will be delivered. That's what happens when somebody's good. So if you think it's the size, if you think the coach doesn't like you, you think that your teammates are hating on you, or your parents won't let you, or you don't have a court near your house, or it's cold and rainy and you have no idea how you're going to practice basketball, and all these bullshit excuses y'all like to throw around, It's not about me. This is what you have to understand. The more you keep lying to yourself about what the reality is, the further and further you're getting away from actually reaching whatever end result it is you have in mind. You're not going to get there until you understand where you at. So understand that no matter what the situation, no matter who didn't like you or whatever bias they had against you, let's just say every bias you think that is against you in the world is actually true. Let's just say that it is. Once we establish that, here's my question to you. What are you going to do now? So let's just say all this unfair stuff that you think's happening to you, let's say 100% of it is true. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to just go in the corner and cry and die, and at the end of your life, you want your tombstone to say, well, I would have been great, but everybody was hating on me, so I didn't. You think people are going to accept that? People are going to look at you and say, all right, well, you didn't do shit. You just wanted to make excuses. So what is it that you're going to do? Understand wherever your reality is, that's where it's at. Now, what are you going to do in the situation that you in? So let's just say your height is the reason you didn't make it. Okay, now what you going to do? Are you going, is something going to happen that's going to make you 6'5" by next year? Probably not. Let's just say next year you're still the same height. What you going to do? You going to come back to me with the same excuse, or are you going to do something to fix the situation? That's a question you need to ask yourself. Next question, Yabish says, for someone with absolutely no handle, but a decent shot, how would you start training them? I just want to work on handling, but don't know any specific drills to start with. Well, Yabish, you came to the right place. You can click on my name that you see right below this video where it says Dre Baldwin, and you can go to the ball handling playlist, and now you got about 400 specific drills to start with. If you need a program or you need some direction, you can go to hoophandbook.com. We got ball handling hoop handbook. We got the signature workouts. We got the 2 ball handling DVDs. You got the Chris Paul and Kyrie workout programs, which are heavy on ball handling. Also the Steve Nash. So you're in the right place. Now, I just told you how to help yourself, so start doing it. Alex Curry says, who do you think is getting MVP this year? Plus, you should explain that damn Heat jersey in the intro to your videos. First of all, what Heat jersey in the intro to my videos? Second, who do I think is getting MVP is way too early to say. It's On says, what's the best hoop handbook to develop post game? Well, there are different ways to play in the post. There are a lot of different post players. It's On. It depends on what kind of game you're looking to develop. I mean, if you look at basketball, you see that there are a lot of players who play in the post, but they do it different ways. So you got a guy like Blake Griffin who's super athletic, or an Amari Stoudemire, guys who are really athletic. You have players who are really fundamental based. They're not going to jump over you, but their game is a lot of fundamental skills where you looking at somebody like Kevin Love. He's a more floor game type guy. Tim Duncan is another. Who else we got that plays in the post? And also wing players. There are wing players who post up often. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, even Gary Payton, even guards, Russell Westbrook. These are all people who play in the post. So you have to figure out what it is you want to add to your game. And once you figure that part out, then you can decide which player you want to go with. You got a guy like Dirk Nowitzki who can also step outside and shoot the ball. You got post players who are good in the post who can also face up to their defender and put the ball on the floor, like a Carmelo, like a LeBron, like even a guy like a Blake Griffin, even a Kevin Garnett. So any player can help your game. All of them are going to add to your game, but you got to figure out what it is you want to add to your game before you decide which one would be best. If you want to get them all, I suggest get the Big Fellas program package, which is 11 post player programs. Next, NBA Head says, what do you think gets more exposure to college scouts, high school play or AAU play? Well, I don't know any AAU players who aren't in high school, so why not do both? Alian Ahmed says, Dre, my name is Alian. Whenever I'm playing ball, I always travel when I'm taking the ball to the rack. And also when I get the ball and spot up, do I have a video or tips on fixing this problem? Well, Alian, if you know that you're traveling, then stop traveling. So you don't need a video or a tip. Well, I just gave you the tip. If you think that you're traveling, then stop traveling. And if you watch the videos that I've done, every single one of them, I'm not traveling. So if you can master any of them, then you won't be traveling no more. Next question. Gent Castrati says, what's the most important thing to do when shooting, Dre? Most important thing to do when shooting is to make the shots. C. Joy Dempsey says, what's your favorite move to beat your defender? I don't have a favorite move to beat my defender. Whatever is necessary in the moment. Every defender is different. Every situation is different. Even when you're facing the same person twice, they're not going to be the exact same situation both times. So Whatever's necessary in the moment is my favorite. Matthew Rodriguez says, could Stephen Curry be one of the best point guards in the league? Where would you say he stands at? I think he's already one of the best point guards in the league. So the answer to the first question is yes. What would I say where he stands at? That's the way he worded the question. You should look at my top 5 point guards video, which I put out about a month ago. Elias Money 12 says, let's let the cat out the bag. How did you make that intro? It looks very official, Dre, so please let us know. What intro? Jamuel Fletcher says, I started playing basketball my senior year of high school. Is it too late to make the NBA my primary decision to make a career? I've been playing basketball since 10th grade, but I didn't really start training until the summer of junior year. So is it too late for me to make the NBA career even though I haven't been playing since I was younger? Well, here's the thing, Jamuel. Anyone can choose what they're going to do with their lives, and no one can tell you whether it's too late, too early, or whatever it is. You decide whether it's too late. And if someone else tries to tell you whether it's too late or not, somebody tells you that it's not too late and you agree, then now you've chosen, you made the decision that it's not too late in your mind. Because whatever that other person says, they're not the one who has to go out and take the actions to get there. So if you decide it's not too late, you still have to go out and take the actions no matter what I tell you. If I tell you it is too late and you agree with it, then you bought that opinion and then you made the decision for yourself that it's too late. So you had to decide whether it's too late for you. No one else can decide that for you, because whatever anybody else says, they're not the ones who has to go live it afterwards. After the talk is done and it's time for the action, you're the one who has to do it. So you need to figure that out. Next question. Brandon Hooks says, how can I be consistent with my shooting form? By doing it. Find a shooting form that works for you, whatever form it is you want to shoot with, and then practice that exact same form over and over and over again. That's it. Kiki Jinkai says, how do you change from playing the position center to playing point guard? Are there any certain ball handling drills I should work more on? Well, you can start with the simple, basic, daily dribbling drills. Once you master those, you'll be able to do any drill anywhere against any defender. Once you master them. Notice I said master, not once you do them, not once you talk about it, not once you watch the video, not once you did it 2 times in a row. Once you master them, which means you need to do it every single day for about 5 years. Yes, 5 years. Sometimes I say 5 years, players be like, wow, 5 years is a long time. Well, how much longer are you planning on being a basketball player? A week? A month? 2 years? 1 year? You're going to be playing, you're going to need to be practicing. So practice is never going to end. So if you're 15 and you plan on playing until you're 40, you're going to be practicing for the next 25 years. There will never be a point where you can stop practicing, because that's when you're going to start going in the opposite direction, and then it's going to be over. Next question. Air Game 15 says, is athleticism something you can work on and improve at, or is it something that comes naturally only for some players? Air Game, I addressed this, I believe, in the last Q&A, so you can watch that video. And if you need a program to work on athleticism, you can check out the Ultimate Athlete. It's a 15-week off-court training program at hoophandbook.com, which it covers speed, quickness, agility, strength, power, lateral movement, explosiveness, vertical jump, and flexibility. Next, Marcus Wheatley says, do I have any videos on left-handed layups? Yes, I got about 1,000 of those. So just search my name in the word and the phrase left hand, and you'll see a ton of left-hand drills, workouts, tutorials, etc. Austin Nichols says, I'm a good offensive player. I can slash, I can shoot, I can dribble. When it comes to defense, my opponent crosses me with ease. What drills can I do? Well, Austin, what you need to do is play more basketball, because you can do a drill to practice by yourself all day when you know what somebody's going to do is predictive, but you're not going to be able to. Defense is all reaction, so you can't practice reaction by yourself. Basketball, you got to react to the opponent, and you don't know what the opponent is going to do. So if you want to get better at playing defense, you need to go play basketball against somebody that you don't know what they're going to do, and keep playing, keep getting crossed up. Eventually, you're going to quit, or B, you're going to stop getting crossed up, because you're going to make adjustments, you're going to learn from experience and get better. So those are only 2 choices you have. A drill is not going to get you ready to react in a live situation. John Campos, at least on defense. John Campos says, I live in Miami. Do you think you can train me? If I ask for a training session of some sort, I can pay. Well, John, you can email me, dre@dreallday.com, and also see my website, Dre All Day. I have a link on there for coaching and training. So if you look at that, you'll see what I offer for training. DeMarcus says, Do you think you would be a good NBA analyst or NBA head coach? Which would I be better at, as an analyst or head coach? If I had to pick one, analyst, because I'm damn sure not coaching. Arath, I'm not analyzing either. Arafat Islam says, I'm a left-handed shooter. I want to make more shots on a consistent basis. What are some ways of improving my jump shot, and how can I improve my vertical? Well, I already talked about improving the jump shot. You need to go put in the work in practice. Also see the shooting handbook at DreAllDay/PSSS. That stands for Pro Shot Shooting System. PSSS. That's a free handbook on everything shooting. As far as jumping, DreAllDay.com/JM stands for Jump Manual. DreAllDay.com/JM. And that comes with a free offer, but you have to use the link that I just told you. So if you get it and you don't use the link I just told you, the free offer is not available to you. Next, and that's all explained on my website at DreAllDay.com/jump higher. Next, Baller S says, I swear you had to be making up some of these questions. No way niggas are that dumb. Well, see, here we go. It's two of them. Eshwar Tengarala says, Dre, I need help. I did the dip, sweep, and sway thing in that 150-page ebook, and my form somehow changed. I was missing a lot of shots today. The method never worked out for me today. How can I get my form back and still use the dip, sweep, and sway? I also don't know how to contact Coach Hoover. All right, well, we're going to address all these in one. Number one, you don't need help. Stop whining. Number two, you did the dip, sweep, and sway thing in that 150-page ebook. What about the rest of the book? That wasn't 150 pages about dip, sweep, and sway. Everything regarding shooting is addressed in that book, and there ain't no page in that book that says you need to practice one day and then complain if the sky is falling or think that you're the next Michael Jordan. It takes years to develop a shot. Not reading the book. Reading the book is not going to make you a great player. You got to read the book, take the information, then apply it for years of practice, and that's what makes you good. So you practice for one day and was missing shots, that all that tells me is that you haven't practiced enough in your life. It has nothing to do with the book. And you don't know how to contact Coach Hoover, but you know how to leave comments on YouTube. I find that hard to believe. Please, when you come to me, both Eshwar and anyone else, don't feign helplessness. When you feign helplessness, that doesn't make me want to help you. That makes me want to get away from you. It repels people when you act helpless. When you're driving in your car and you see a beggar standing on the corner with a sign saying, give me money, does it make you want to help that person out? Some people do toss $1 or $2 at the beggar, but usually, let me just speak for me. I like to help people who I see are already helping themselves. I don't want to help people who whine. I don't want to help people who bitch. I don't want to help people who make excuses. I don't want to help people who complain. So when people come to me doing any one of these 4 things, I try to set them straight and let them know, trying to put a mirror in front of them to let them know what they're doing, and hopefully they figure it out and they start to help themselves. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they just complain even more and they say, oh, well, here's another person, Dre, he won't help me neither. And they just keep on going in their cycle of complaining, bitching, whining, and making excuses. You're probably going to spend your whole life doing that the longer you keep thinking that you're justified in doing it. So no, you don't need help. No, you don't even need to contact Coach Hoover. What you do need to do is practice for another 10 years, 5 years at least on your shot, and then complain about it. If it's still a problem, guess what the problem is? Not the book, not the coach, not me, not YouTube, you. Next question. Israel Walker says, I want to know what I should do to stay in shape for basketball. I made the team and used the tips on your vid, and making the team helped me out a lot. Well, if you made the team, Israel, you're going to be in shape because the coach is going to do things that'll have you in shape in practice. All you got to do to stay in shape is keep showing up for practice like you're supposed to. Next, Chris X Beast says, does a family that cares about your dreams come into play when you want to become a NBA player? Students, teachers, and even parents tell me that I will never become an NBA player. It destroys my confidence. My parents act like they don't give a fuck when I'm doing good in basketball games, and they don't even come to my games. I go to a cyber school, so I guess it means he goes to school online. And my parents are overprotective, so that's why he goes to a cyber school. I have no exposure whatsoever. How do I overcome this? I'm a new subscriber to this channel. I really hope you'll put this on your next video or put a big smile on my face. Well, Chris, I hope you're smiling right now, and now let me talk some reality into you. Number one, does a family caring about your dreams come into play when you want to become an NBA player? In a way, yes, but do they make the difference? No. The difference is made by that player who claims they want to become the player, which is you. So your family is not the make or break of whether or not you make it. You're the make or break. And the next thing he says, the students, teachers, and even my parents tell me that I'll never become an NBA player, and it destroys my confidence. Well, Chris, I'm glad you came to me with that. And now I'm going to tell you how you can help yourself. I'm going to tell you a lot of ways. Number one, I have a motivational playlist on this channel where I address things like that, ways that you need to work on the mental side of your game. So obviously, since you're on the team and you want to become an NBA player, I'm guessing that you have some basketball ability and you know what to do as far as developing your skills, because there's nothing in your comment that says anything about developing skills on the court. Everything you're talking about is the mental side of the game. And I cover that a lot in the motivational videos. I have over 200 motivational videos posted on this channel. So you can watch all of those over and over again, save them to your phone, whatever you want to do. I wrote a book. My most recent book came out this past September. It's called The Super You. And the book is all about confidence. It's unlocking and living with your highest level of confidence. So Chris, you need to read that book. And I also wrote 2 others about the mental side of the game, Mirror Motivation and the Mental Handbook. You can see links to all those books in the video description below for Chris and anyone else who's interested. They are all available on Amazon if you just search my name, Dre Baldwin. What else did he say? All right, well, you're on the team. You're on some team, which means you have a chance for exposure. You don't get exposure, but you're on the basketball team. So what exposure is it that you're not getting, Chris? That's the question that I have for you. You say you're not getting any exposure whatsoever. If you have a game to play in and you're on a team, guess what? You're being exposed. Every single thing you do when you walk out of the house, you're being exposed. Somebody's watching you. Somebody's paying attention to you. Someone's observing and someone's making observations. They're making judgments about you based on what they're seeing, hearing, feeling from you. So yes, you do have 1,000% exposure just like every other person in this world does. You think you're not getting exposure because it's not the type of attention you're looking for, but you are getting attention. You are being exposed, and you're on a team. You're saying they don't come to your games. So you're on a team. You're being exposed every game. You're being exposed to all your teammates. You're being exposed to your coaches. You're being exposed to your opponents, the coaches of that team, and you're being exposed to whoever else is in the building, the referees, the scorekeepers, whatever fans come to the game, they're all watching you. And I guarantee you don't know everything about every one of those people. You probably don't know much about any of them. And one of those people could be the person who can make or break your career. But if you walking around moping around thinking this doesn't mean anything because I'm not getting any exposure, guess what? Your opportunity is walking out the door and you didn't even know it was there. Next question. Quas the Boss 23. Hey Dre, in the last 2 years I broke my leg and then I broke my arm playing basketball. Now coming back again is hard mentally because I'm scared that I'll get injured again, and playing scared in my sport, quotes, not quotes, parentheses, soccer, is what gets you injured. When you play scared in soccer, you get injured. How would I recommend him help himself to try to get over this mental hurdle and forget about this while I'm playing? Well, across the boss, I've never broken any bones, knock on wood. But what I would tell you is if you're going to play the sport, you're just going to have to play it and get over it. You're just going to have to put yourself in a situation, basically flood yourself. They call it flooding when you're talking about mental, I forget the word that I'm looking for, but even when they do with training dogs, rehabilitating dogs, they got a dog that's fearful of going in the kitchen. So they get the dog, focus on all these other things, and then all of a sudden bring him in the kitchen while the dog's not even thinking about it. Now, all of a sudden the dog's in the kitchen. He's not fearful of it anymore. That's not the greatest example, but it's like if you're scared of deep water, you just got to jump in the pool and swim. You'll figure it out or you're going to die and drown. You just got to go out there and play the sport. That's the best thing that I can tell you. Next question. Onin Only says, I did not make high school this year. I'm in 11th grade. I'll continue working hard, but instead I'll play AAU this summer so I can get a scholarship to University of Arizona. I'm 6 feet tall, but not making the basketball team 2 years in a row. Not making the team 3 years in a row in high school. Does that affect my chances of getting exposure? P.S. I want to be the best. Okay. First off, people ask me these questions about exposure, and they talk about things that have already taken place in their life. They say, all right, well, did not making the team last year, is that going to affect my exposure? My question to you is this. Onin, he's asking me, he said, I didn't make it a couple years in middle school and I didn't make it 3 years in a row in high school. Does it affect my exposure? Onin, what does it matter? What can you do about it? Let's just say if I said, yeah, it just completely destroyed your chances for exposure. Let's just say that was the fact. That was my answer. What exactly are you going to do about that? Do you have a time machine? You're going to go back and change history? No, there's nothing you can do about it. Only thing that you can focus on owning is not the University of Arizona, not the exposure that you think is coming in some distant future that you probably don't even know what you're talking about. Only thing you can focus on is right here and right now. What are you doing right now that's going to get you closer to being the best that you claim you want to be? What are you doing? If you're focusing on the past, if you're focusing on exposure, players talk about exposure as if it's this spiritual thing that's somewhere out in the world that they just can't quite grasp. Guess what? Exposure is every single minute. You know what this video is right now? This is exposure for me. There's somebody watching this video who's never heard of me, and this is their first impression of me. This is exposure. Every single thing you do is exposure. When you walk down the street, when you go to school, every time you talk to a teacher, when you go to the store to buy something, when you have conversation with your parents, when your coach says something to you and you do it or don't do it to his liking or not to their liking, you are being exposed every single moment. Every interaction with your friends, every interaction with your coworkers, every interaction with your boss, everything you post on the internet, everything is exposure. So players say, I'm not getting any exposure. The exposure a lot of you are looking for, I guess, you want to get recruited by colleges, you want to get scholarship offers. Listen, the colleges are out there. The scholarships are out there. If they're not coming to you, then that means you need to step up your performance. It's not that the exposure hasn't found you, it's that you need to step up your performance. When your performance steps up, more attention will come to you. So if you're not getting any attention, all you players out there, it has nothing to do with them overlooking you. It's not about your size. It's about your lack of performance. When you perform, they will find you. If they're not finding you, it's because you are not performing. It has nothing to do with this exposure. What is this exposure thing? Where did this come from? It used to be everyone was concerned with lifting weights and stunting their growth, and everybody wants to talk about exposure. Listen, if you want to be exposed, step up your performance in whatever it is you're doing, on the court or off. It doesn't matter. If you're not getting the attention that you want, because that's all exposure is attention. If you're not getting the attention, it's because you ain't putting in enough work. You're not performing up to the proper levels to get the attention that you claim you want. If you want the attention, stop worrying about the attention. Focus on the work. And when you're doing the work, the attention is going to find you and you're not even going to be paying attention to it. So that's what you need to do. As far as you wanting to go play at the University of Arizona and get a scholarship, I don't know. He didn't say a sports scholarship. Maybe you can get an academic scholarship. I don't know what your chances are of getting a scholarship to play at the school if you're not even playing on your high school team right now. But then again, I'm also not a college coach. I don't know the ins and outs of recruiting, and I also don't even know your game or your ability, so I can't judge at all whether or not you can get a scholarship to the University of Arizona. But if you continue to, or if you begin to focus on your effort, your attitude, and your work, stop focusing on exposure, which means somebody else paying attention to you. You can't make other people pay attention to you. If you focus on those three things, you'll start to get the attention when you're producing, when you're actually performing at a level that requires someone's attention. Next question. KCI posted a second question, but we don't do two questions, KCI. Michael Pucci says, I'm 16, I have a dream to go to the NBA or D-League, but I'm in special ed. I'm not retarded. I've been telling the teachers and everybody, they always call me a special ed kid. But anyways, it would be bad to try to go to the NBA because I'm worried about getting made fun of. My whole life I've been bullied. Well, Michael, let me tell you something that you probably know in the back of your mind, but you're ignoring. You don't need to worry about people laughing at you when you make it to the NBA because there's a pretty good chance that you have not put in enough work, nor do you have the required skill to even play in college, let alone professional level. Most high school players don't make it to college basketball. Most college players don't make it to the pros. So it's not, you don't have to worry. You're worried about something happening way so far way out in the future. You haven't even taken, you worried about what's going to happen at the top of the staircase when you haven't even taken the first step to get onto the steps. I remember I was talking to this girl, right? We were having a conversation about working out. She wanted me to train her, not basketball. And she said, I asked her about her experience in the gym. Have you ever lifted weights? Have you ever worked with a trainer before? And she said, no, I never really worked with a trainer before, but I want to get toned up. I want to get in shape. And she wanted me to train her. And I said, okay, cool. So we started talking about what our schedule would be, what's my availability, what days we're going to work out. Where are we going to train? Where's the gym at? And she said, oh yeah, Dre, one more thing. I got to make sure I say this. I don't want to be one of those big buffed up girls with all the big muscles that be on the commercials with their muscles shining and looking like a man. I don't want to look like a man with all those muscles. And I said to her, listen, let me explain something to you, miss. You've never touched a weight in your damn life, but you worried about being too bulky. Okay, you gotta, first of all, you gotta pick a fucking weight up and work out 2 days in a row before you worry about your muscles being too big. So you're talking about, Michael, you're worried about people laughing at you when you're in the NBA. All right, first of all, you got to get some game and be good enough to play on the JV before you worry about the NBA. All right, you haven't even taken the first step. So get that worry out of your mind, because I guarantee you it will most of the things you worry about will probably never happen. And that's not me to discourage you from making the NBA. But first of all, why don't you get on the basketball team at your school? Do that first. And you're talking about going to the NBA or the D League. Get on the team at your school first and get in the starting lineup, get some playing time, score 2 points in a game. Then we take the next step. So it's one step at a time. You don't have to worry about what are people going to say. It's like if I came on here and said, I'm worried about what people are going to say if I become president, that they're going to dig into my background. Well, first of all, you got to win the election at the 4-H club at the YMCA before you worry about winning the election of presidency. All right, one step at a time, man. Next question. Adrian Morales says, I want to thank you. You're almost like a mentor. Thing is, I made my sophomore team. Congratulations, Adrian. They're thinking about bringing some sophomores on this trip to Florida. I was wondering if I can make it there, and meet up around Christmas time. He's from Provo, Utah, and it would be great if you could do something like that. Well, Adrian and I agreed that it would be great, but I definitely cannot commit myself to coming to a tournament. I have no idea what that tournament is or where it is. And I have other obligations to business and other obligations to my personal life. So I'm not committing to coming to see you play. But if you get a chance to play wherever you go play, whether it's Provo, Utah, Florida, or anywhere else in the world, you keep performing at whatever level you perform at to make the team. And eventually I won't have to go travel to see you because I can watch you on TV. And when you do that, you can just shout me out. So congratulations. Next question. Jack Ryan says, Dre, your videos have been a huge help. I was wondering if you still had confidence in yourself and in the game after people said no to you in high school. Did you use it as motivation? Well, I'm glad my videos have been a help to you, Jack, and to answer your question, how did I still have confidence in myself after people said no to me? Did I use it as motivation? Yeah, I use it as motivation. And the number one thing is that with any player, you have to have a conviction in yourself of where you're going to be regardless of what other people say. Because most people, if you have a big goal, you have a big dream of where you want to be, most people are going to look at it. Most people like to think low. They have low aims and they want to be average. So when you tell people you want to be something that's way above average, they're not going to understand it. And they're going to be like, what are you talking about? They're not going to say, what are you talking about? They're going to ridicule you. They're going to say, oh, you can't do that. That's crazy. You're not going to make it this. You can't be this. You're not that. People from here don't do this. Those are the things that they think. When people are giving you their opinions, they're telling you what they think about themselves and they're projecting it onto you. Nobody can think from your perspective. They only speak from their perspective. So if somebody gives you an opinion, understand that's the perspective that they're coming from. So you have to be very careful protecting your mind against the influences that come to it. Because when people say things to you, that has an influence on your mind. You have to bulletproof your mind in a way to keep all that negative shit out. And that's something actually that I write about specifically in my book, The Mirror of Motivation, which you can get on Amazon. Again, the link is down there below. And his question was, how did I stay confident? You should check out my book, Buy a Game. That was my first book where I write about my early basketball story coming from my beginnings up through high school and the disappointments I faced up through college. And then right to the end of college is where the book ends, because the rest of the story is not completely done to be written yet. I will get to that in a later book, but you can read Buy a Game. Actually, you can read a free PDF version at DreAllDay/Buy a Game, or you can get the book on Amazon, paperback or Kindle edition if you wish. Next question. FFF says, what do you think about overtraining amongst young athletes? Do you think I should play every single day or play like 5 days and rest 2 to let my body recover? Did you think this as a teenager or not think about it? I didn't think about that at all. FFF, if you're thinking about it, you're probably thinking too damn much. All you had to do is listen to your body. If you need rest, you rest. If you don't need rest, you do what it is you want to do. You don't need anybody to tell you when to rest. Listen to your body and then do what you gotta do from there. Peter Griffin says, Dre, do you listen to Eminem? Yeah, I like Eminem. Next question. I'm True Skills says, Dre, you've answered this question maybe a million times, but what type of camera do you use? Well, I use a lot of different types of camera. I don't use one type of camera. Sometimes I use my iPhone. Sometimes I use a Sony. I don't know the model numbers and all that shit. I don't know, so I can't tell you. Next question. Yoel Gide says, Dre, I started basketball late. I'm out here trying to get better every day, but the problem is my parents, especially my dad. I have good grades, but whenever it's not to his standards, he gets mad, blames it on basketball. He says I'm outside too much. Thing is, I'm so behind. I feel like I haven't done enough with basketball, and he thinks I'm doing too much. It's basically where at times I feel that he doesn't want me to play anymore. So he says, what is basketball going to do for your future? I feel like I don't have his support. I love basketball with a passion. I don't want to stop. If I have any thoughts, do you feel there's a way you can help me with my problem? I appreciate it. Well, Yoel, I've heard situations like this before, and I understand that some family situations do get like that some parents don't see a value in a player putting too much into sports. The first thing you need to do is understand when you're in that type of situation, understand what it is the other person wants. You're talking about a family member, your dad. What is it your dad wants you to do? He probably wants you to pay more attention to your schoolwork. So the question now is, how is your schoolwork? How are you performing in school? Because if he has a problem with you playing basketball, it's probably because he thinks if you take some of that basketball attention and put it on school, your performance in school will be better. Because I guarantee you, if you had straight A's in school, he probably wouldn't care what you did with your spare time. So one thing you can do is step up your performance in school. And another thing you can do, if you really consider this to be a problem, one thing that I've learned since I'm older than most of you is when you have a problem in life, the best way to deal with it is to address it head on. Because if you let it sit and fester and hope that it goes away, usually it gets worse. If you try to avoid it and go around it, usually it gets worse and it finds you. And if you try to act like it doesn't exist at all, usually it gets worse and it finds you. So you need to address the problem head on. Speak to your father. Have a conversation with your father and tell him that basketball is important to you, but also find out what's important to him. Since he probably has more power, more leverage in this relationship than you do, I'm guessing he does. My father had more over me when I was your age. You need to figure out what it is important to him. If it's important to him is school, make a trade with him. Say, hey, I'll step on my school performance to XYZ in exchange for you allowing me to do basketball ABC because I feel. Tell him why it is basketball is important to you, so that he understands not just some hobbies, just some fleeting interest that you're going to throw away, and then next year you're going to want to do something else. You have to prove to him that basketball matters to you. At the same time, offer him something that matters to him. When you make that exchange, give the other person what they want, you can get exactly what you want. Next question. 2 questions left. No, not 2 questions left. I'm sorry. Marcus Kelly says, I recently made my freshman team, but we had too many players, so there was a cut on the team. I fucked up in mostly all the drills. When we played 5-on-5, I got shifty and was putting the ball in the hoop after practice. He told me and a few others I didn't make it. Do you think that was fair? Okay, first of all, you got shifty. What the hell is that? I got shifty. Does that mean you were crossing people over? Well, you don't get points for crossover, son, so that doesn't mean a damn thing. Next question. Not next question, but next issue that he said in this question was, do I think it was fair? Hell yeah, it was fair. Because guess what? There's only one person who decides what's fair on a basketball team, and that's the coach. If the coach decided you ain't on the team, then that's it. There is no fair. There is no right or wrong. He's the judge. He's the jury. He's the cops. So he says you're cut, you're cut. That's it. So it's not about fair. You can't take him to court. You can't appeal the decision. That's it. It's over. So what you need to do, stop worrying about whether something is fair. Stop telling people that you got shifty, whatever the fuck that means. I never heard that to describe a good basketball player. I don't know what kind of language y'all use these days, but the only thing that matters in basketball is offense, score, defense, make stops, and at the end of the game, win. Now, what part shifty plays in those 3 objectives, I have no idea, and I don't even need to know. You need to improve your game, improve your performance, so that when you get into the game, you won't fuck up in all the drills like you say you did. Because guess what? That gave the coach just enough pretext to cut you. Let's just say he was hating on you. He was looking for one mistake for you to get cut. You made it, right? You made the mistake. He didn't do it to you. You messed up in the drills. He didn't make you mess up. You made yourself mess up. So what you need to do is work on your game so that your next basketball opportunity, whether that be next week, next month, or next year, you are ready to perform at the high level that will get you what you want. So focus on you, focus on stepping up your performance and not what anybody else is doing, thinking, or saying. Next question, Babyface Assassin says, how do you keep your calm and composure during games when you're having a bad game? Well, the only way you're going to learn that is just to have several bad games and then you learn how to live through it. That's basically the way I learned it. You can't really read about that in a book. If you never experienced it, you won't understand it until you do. So you're going to have to experience a couple of them and learn it. Next question, Anthony Turner says, all right, now we got 3 questions left. Anthony Turner says, I'm on my high school JV. I almost didn't get on because of my grades. My school let me try out because my grades were looking better. The deal was I can try out in practice, but I can't play any games until the end of the quarter. What should I do to still improve my game even though I'll be on the bench? Also, how can I help my team out even though I can't play in the game? All right, well, what you can do, we'll address the questions you asked, and I'm going to tell you something else that you didn't ask. What you can do is play hard in practice, because that's the only thing you can do is practice, right? I remember Gilbert Arenas, when he first came in the NBA, he was on the Golden State Warriors. He didn't play a lot. So he said there was a couple guys on the team who didn't play a lot. I mean, y'all watch basketball, y'all see the guys sitting at the end of the bench who don't play that much. So Gilbert Arenas said, me and like 2 or 3 other guys, we would come to practice like an hour to 2 hours early every day. And we would play these full court one-on-one games. And that was like the game for us. Since we didn't get to play in the real games, we used practice as the game. Now, I'm not saying that you need to show up 2 hours early because you might not be able to do that. You're in high school. So I understand that. That's not what I'm saying. You got to understand the principle of it. The philosophy of it is he used practice as a game because he couldn't play in the games, or because he wasn't playing in the games. And since you are actually banned from playing in the games, there's no way you can get in the game no matter what happens. You probably don't even suit up, or whatever the situation is. Use practice as a game. So you can treat practice as if that's the big moment. So since that is the only moment you have, it actually is the big moment. So use practice as a game. That's the way you can help your team, by being a leader, by setting an example of, okay, I know I'm not playing the games, but I'm gonna practice hard as if I'm the best player on the team. So that's the one thing you can do. Number 2 thing you can do, you're asking about working on your game. Anthony, the reason you almost didn't make the team is because of your grades. So what you need to do is focus on your grades and make sure that your grades stay looking better. Not just temporary so that you could try out, but stay there. Because guess what? You can score 30 in your first game, but if your grade starts slipping, you're going to be right back off the team or right back on the bench, not suiting up for games. And I don't even want to tell you the list of players I know who had so much promise that didn't make it because they didn't take care of their schoolwork. Don't become a casualty who had the game but didn't have the rest of their life in order and then messed up their chance with a basketball opportunity. Because there's a full graveyard of basketball talent out there, better than players who did make it, of players who had way more talent, but they didn't handle their off-the-court stuff. So make sure you don't become another casualty, Anthony. Next one, Amazing One says, how come the beautiful girls always mean to the guys that like them? I don't know. You probably... I don't know the answer to that. We probably have to get a beautiful girl in the Q&A to address that question. So when I find a willing, beautiful girl who will address that question, I'll bring her on the Q&A and we'll cue that question back up. But I'm sorry, I can't answer that. I'm not a beautiful girl. Next question. Jacubas Migueli says, Dre, thanks for answering my questions. I said that my teammates were not passing to me, but the past few days, I worked so hard that I almost died, but now I play like a total beast on the court, going 1 versus 5 and getting easy buckets. Well, I don't know. I never would have suggested that you go 1-on-5, but if it's working for you, it's working for you. I mean, the object of the game is to put the ball in the basket, make sure you get stops on defense, and win at the end. So if you're doing that, hey, keep doing what you got to do. That's it, everybody. Thank you for the questions. This is the longest Q&A I think I've done so far, almost an hour. Questions are very good. Please keep providing me with good questions. Y'all coming here with well thought out stuff to ask me. I appreciate it. Next week, there will be a Q&A. I'll be recording on Black Friday, so happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. Of course, I'm still going to be putting out new content every single day for this week coming up. For those of you who are still watching this video at this point, I appreciate it. Work on your fucking game. DreAllDay.com. Thanks for checking out this video. Make sure you check back next week, the same day, to catch more tutorial content. Check out all my favorite content up here. All my social networks, you can follow me over here. Make sure you are subscribed to catch all my new content coming out here on this channel every single day. Work on your game.